children to the death camps, and thence to the gas chambers.
האם אתה מודה או אינך מודה בפרט האישום השישי?
Bekennen Sie sich zum 6. Anklagepunkt schuldig oder nicht schuldig?
Im Sinne der Anklage nicht schuldig.
ברוח כתב האישום לא אשם.
האם אתה מודה או אינך מודה בפרט האישום השביעי?
Bekennen Sie sich zum 7. Anklagepunkt schuldig oder nicht schuldig?
Im Sinne der Anklage nicht schuldig.
ברוח כתב האישום לא אשם.
האם אתה מודה או אינך מודה בפרט האישום השמיני?
Bekennen Sie sich zum 8. Anklagepunkt schuldig oder nicht schuldig?
Im Sinne der Anklage nicht schuldig.
A year before the trial began, when Ben-Gurion announced Eichmann's capture in Buenos Aires, where he had found asylum under a false identity, the Israeli prime minister accused him of being chiefly to blame for the final solution, the organized murder of 6 million European Jews. A charge that Gideon Hausner, Attorney General of the State of Israel, will now endeavor to prove. Eichmann is being defended by German lawyer Robert Servatius, who in 1945 had defended Sauckel and Brandt at Nuremberg. It is he who opens the proceedings.
Ich sagte, dass die Unzuständigkeit des Gerichts sich aus einem prozessualen Grund ebenfalls ergibt. Die Entführung des Angeklagten und seine Verbringung vor dieses Gericht kann die Zuständigkeit des Gerichts nicht begründen. Der Angeklagte hat nach seiner Entführung eine Erklärung unterschrieben, wonach er sich freiwillig dem israelischen Gericht unterwirft. Diese Erklärung lautet: Ich, der Unterzeichnete Adolf Eichmann, erkläre...
The statement, which his lawyer calls a breach of procedure, was signed by Eichmann when he was being secretly held captive by a Mossad commando group. Recognized by a Jewish family, Eichmann had been hunted for a long time before being captured at home one May evening in 1960. While the commandos were awaiting the arrival of the El Al plane to take him to Israel, Eichmann signed a document consenting to be tried by an Israeli court.
על מנת למתן את החיכוך הזה, ועל מנת להביא את הדבר גם לבית המשפט הישראלי, חשבו היועצים המשפטיים שלנו שאם אייכמן חותם על מסמך שהוא מרצונו החופשי מוכן לבוא למשפט בישראל, זה יעזור לשני הדברים האלה. והיועצים המשפטיים ניסחו מכתב, צבי אהרוני לקח את המכתב הזה, ולשכנע את אייכמן לחתום על המכתב. עכשיו, הוא לא חתם מיד, זה לקח מהרגע שהציגו לו את המסמך עד הרגע שהוא חתם, עברו יומיים.
After the collapse of the Third Reich, Eichmann goes to northern Germany. He works under a false name and a false identity as a laborer, a forester. And somewhere around 1948-49, he makes contact with the underground network that is helping SS men to escape from Europe to South America. He gets some of the papers that he needs, and in 1950, in July, he finally boards a ship in Genoa that takes him to Buenos Aires in Argentina. He was able to bring his wife Vera and the boys to join him.
In the late 1950s, the hunt for Nazi war criminals was not the Israeli government's top priority. Fritz Bauer, chief prosecutor for the West German state of Hesse, had tipped off Israel to Eichmann's presence in Argentina. Next, a Mossad investigator, Zvi Aharoni, whose family had been massacred by the Nazis, traveled alone to Buenos Aires. His assignment was to make sure that the man living on Garibaldi Street under the name Ricardo Clement was indeed Adolf Eichmann. Only after repatriating Aharoni's photographs did the Mossad send a commando unit to Argentina, charged with confirming his identity, capturing him, and bringing him to Israel. Kidnapped on May 11, 1960, held captive in the cellar of a safe house rented by the Israeli agents, he immediately admitted he was Adolf Eichmann.
הוא עם עיניים סגורות, אבל עומד ערום לגמרי. ואז צבי אהרוני היחיד ששאל אותו מה שמך? הוא אמר אוטו הניגר, זה השם שהוא השתמש בו בגרמניה? לא, מה שמך? ריקרדו קלמנט, השם שהשתמש בו בארגנטינה? מה מספר ה-SS שלך? הוא נתן את מספר ה-SS כמו שהוא, ואז הוא אמר, אני אדולף אייכמן.
It was 10 days before the El Al plane was scheduled to arrive. The Mossad agents took turns guarding and interrogating Eichmann in the hideout. The man they had captured bore no resemblance to the monster they had imagined.
I thought I would see some sort of personality. He wasn't. But then he was not in his full capacity. He was a prisoner. It's not the same like sitting behind the desk and giving orders.
אייכמן היה קצין שהתחנך להיות לויאלי ולהישמע לפקודות של המפקדים שלו, של הסופיריורס שלו, עד הסוף. וכאשר אנחנו הפכנו להיות המפקדים שלו, אז לפחות בדברים הנראים לעין, כמו לך ימינה, לך שמאלה, שב, תאכל, תשתה, הוא עשה כל דבר שאמרנו לו.
Days after Eichmann signed a statement agreeing to a trial in Israel, the plane touched down in Buenos Aires. The former Nazi was drugged and, like the commandos, dressed in an El Al uniform in order to get through security checks without a hitch.
When he came to the airport, Eichmann was sitting next to him with a syringe in his arm because we wanted to make him dizzy. And he came half asleep. So we told the guard, we have a sick man with us. He said, oh, go on, go on. And we took him up the stairs to the airplane. Yaakov Gad was helping him with the elbow. So Eichmann didn't actually walk up to the airplane. He was carried, but looked like being walked. And immediately we had a bed prepared for him and he fell asleep. Woke up in Tel Aviv.
אדוני יושב-ראש, חברי הכנסת, אולי להודיע לכנסת כי לפני זמן מה נתגלה על ידי שירותי המודיעין בישראל אחד מגדולי פושעי הנאצים, אדולף אייכמן.
Les forces de sécurité israéliennes ont découvert très récemment l'un des plus grands criminels de guerre nazis, Adolf Eichmann. L'homme qui a inventé et réalisé la solution définitive à la question juive, c'est-à-dire l'extermination de 6 millions de juifs européens. Adolf Eichmann sera bientôt jugé en Israël selon la juridiction prévue à l'encontre des nazis et de leurs collaborateurs.
Ben-Gurion's announcement came like a thunderbolt, triggering debate in the media all over the world.
בוא לא נשכח שהיה ויכוח גדול מאוד, האם מותר היה לכתוב את הדבר. ישראל, מדינה שלא התקיימה בזמן השואה, לייצג את העם היהודי. היו ויכוחים גדולים גם בארץ.
Do you, as a German Jew, like the idea of Eichmann being tried in Israel?
No, I don't like it at all. Even though I'm personally concerned about it, because I lost my whole family here in Germany in various camps. I don't think there's any legal basis for it whatsoever. And I don't think it will serve any purpose. Possibly, if they would want to have a trial, they possibly should have had an international court. But in no case whatsoever should he be tried by an Israeli jury.
Do you think that Eichmann should be tried in Israel?
Well, I think he should be tried in Israel because Israel is the country where the victims now live. That's the republic where all the victims of our of Hitler's and our guilt is.
Now, Mr. Fawcett, perhaps we could begin with you. I think there's a legal point which sticks in many people's throat about this Eichmann case. The man was kidnapped in Argentina and dragged quite unwillingly to stand trial in Israel. Does this cast a doubt in any way on the legality of this trial?
No, he was kidnapped and his kidnapping was unlawful. Argentina complained about this to the United Nations. Israel went there to answer the charges. The whole matter was debated and settled to the satisfaction of the parties, and there's no outstanding complaint there.
But what about this idea which many Jews have? The one effect of this trial will be to increase anti-Semitism.
I doubt it. You can't cause anti-Semitism by this trial. You can only stimulate it where it already exists. I don't think one can take into account the reactions of the pathological anti-Semite.
The trial was to be held in a theater, the House of the People of Jerusalem. It was transformed into a courtroom with a glass cage built for the defendant. It would become inextricably linked to his image in the media. Hearing Ben-Gurion's announcement on the radio, American producer Milton Fruchtman had the idea of filming the trial.
I had been in Jerusalem working for NBC on a film, a biography of the Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion. NBC had sent a copy of the film to Ben-Gurion, and he in turn wrote me a letter saying that it was fair and objective, and if I happened to be in Jerusalem in the future, he'd be happy to see me. And so I thought, well, here's my opportunity. I will see him.
At the time, there was no television in Israel. Ben-Gurion had always been against it. But as Fruchtman had secured a deal for daily broadcasts with several television stations, notably in West Germany and the US, the Israeli Prime Minister allowed himself to be persuaded. These broadcasts would take the trial beyond the courtroom to reach an international audience. Sessions would therefore be filmed on condition that the cameras be neither visible nor audible, so as to avoid disturbing the proceedings or influencing the witnesses. They had to be hidden.
I received a letter from the Israeli government saying that it had been decided that 4 cameras at the most could be set up in the courtroom until the start of the trial. And I had built the control room and the recording studio and had the 4 cameras in the courtroom attached to all of that equipment.
Next, Fruchtman had to find a filmmaker capable of directing the program.
When the war ended, Leo had been hired by CBS to help them create a new television network. Television was just beginning. It was just in its infancy, and television production hadn't been invented. They really didn't know how to take 5 cameras and switch between them live the way television happens all the time now. And Leo was hired to help create the art of television, to help create the art and technique of television, which he did. As the Eichmann trial began to take shape, Milton Fruchtman was looking for somebody who could train a crew from the ground up. And Leo had done that. He'd done that in CBS. So Freshman knew Leo could do that.
Innovative videotape recording technology, still in its infancy, would make it possible every night to dispatch tapes filmed that day to lots of countries.
We recorded over 1,000 miles of videotape. Excerpts of the trial were sent to 56 countries throughout the world that had television, and about 35 other countries that did not have television showed it on film in theaters as part of their newsreel. So the material was seen everywhere in the world.
לקראת המשפט המתח בארץ עלה, ולא היה מקום פנוי, אנשים נלחמו, עמדו בתור לילות להשיג כרטיס כניסה. הגיעו עיתונאים מכל העולם, ביניהם החשובים ביותר. חלקם המשיכו עוד קצת, הרוב חזרו אחר כך. אבל